Put my mic down here. Alright, you guys, welcome to Silent Aggression Series Intro. This is Intro Part 2, hosted by L. Gone. Purpose is to give information to friends, family, and foes in regards to the state of condition that we in, why we here, and what we can do while we still here, and we need to pass this on to our prosperities so that they can maneuver through this maze and web that has been placed before us, around us, that we've been living in unknowingly because we simply was not told this information from the beginning. And the reason that was because our folk didn't know it either. Some of them did, some of them didn't. I wonder about my uncle, who was an attorney and pretty smart guy. It's Thomas, by a Christian name. Those of you who will know who I'm talking about, Uncle Emmanuel, and other members of the family, but that's the one that was my mom's brother, little brother, that talked to us about a few things in regards to this type of stuff, but didn't have a chance to get really into it before he passed away. Okay, so he passed away, I believe he was either 42 or 44 years old. It's been some time ago now. At the day of this recording, I was 54 in Sundays and 55 in DNA existent days. What am I talking about? Crazy stuff. We'll get in all that another time. And you guys remind me of that too, because I probably go so far and get so deep into different things and I forget about it as time goes on with the series, as we get into the actual classes. All these few videos that'll be coming forth are all introduction to give you a foundation as to where this stuff is coming from, where did it start, some of the folk who was involved in it, and so on and so forth, which brings us in today, which you can purchase your thumb drive, your study thumb drive for the series for $25, because it'll be going to $32 in 2023. Okay, 23 flipped is 32. So we'll be going to $32 for the thumb drive in the new year. And right now, this is October that this is being recorded in. So you guys know that, things have changed. I'm starting off this way because these thumb drives are changing. And we added more documents and stuff like that to the thumb drive. So we might be pushing out of 16 gig into the next level of the gig, maybe at 32. All right. So that's where we're going. And for that extra space that may be on the drive, that's not filled. That's where you're supposed to put in information that you found and you added to it. Okay. For your records to hand off to your prosperities. All right. So with that being said, you're gonna go to Moorish, Morrish, Traveler, Travler, not traveler, but traveler. So Moorish Traveler at gmail.com. That's MOORISHTRAVLER at gmail.com. It'll be $25 for the thumb drive that has all this information on it, including the videos that you watch. So we have the videos, and we'll have documentations. Documentations that are on the thumb drive are documentations that I have gathered. So there's been information that's on these thumb drives that you can get online or research for yourself. So it's not that these are some drives, except for things that maybe I put together, like my own book. I have a book, I have a couple of books, I have like 4 books that I haven't put out. One of them is Epi Generation 14. Okay, so you know, you can get this information on your own. You can get it from the drive. But as you go through this series, to be specific and to look at uh, the documents that we'll be going over, you might want to have the drive or leave your email so you can have your drive updated with the new forms and documents that need to be submitted or perused. Okay? All right. I also advise you to research everything that you read or that I talk about on your own so you be secure and you see that there's other information out there, there's other folk talking about the same information. Uh, there's a lot of people selling information to you, so you make those decisions on your own. I'm not here to steer you to or away from anything other than giving you the information, and let's go through this information so we can use this information in our life. All right. So with that being said, let's get on into what this intro to silent aggression, intro part two. This is going to be talking about the educational system that was set up that you are familiar with today. And you will see some of these names still rock today. You see? So these people are the same people you dealing with today, almost 130 years ago. So we got 1902 to 2002 was 100 years. Is that right? Okay. So, all right, let's go to the reading. General Education Board, creators and founders, John D. Rockefeller and Frederick T. Gates in the year 1902. The General Education Board was a philanthropy which was used to support higher education and medical schools in the United States and to help white and black schools in the South, as well as modernize farming practices in the South. It helped eradicate hookworm and created the country agent system in American agriculture, linking research and state agriculture experiment stations with actual practices in the field. Now, remind you guys also with these, you can link onto this. See, so when you get the drive, it allows you to jump out and research what these are meaning. Okay, so you will be able to do other research, at least give you links in order to do your other research. All right. So General Education Board was created by John D. Rockefeller and Frederick T. Gates in 1902. Interesting about Gates, huh? Yeah. Rockefeller gave it 180 million. Its head Frederick Gates envisioned the country school of tomorrow. You have to look that up. To and moral. Most of y'all would have looked at that like I would have at one point. Seems country school of tomorrow. Oh, that's a cool little slogan. But that's not what that means. Wherein young and old will be taught in practice or practicable ways how to make rural life beautiful, intelligent, fruitful, recreative, healthful, and joyous. You can do some research and tap on this and find out about. Now, we know Wikipedia is not 100% accurate, and we also know Wikipedia has some slants in it. Okay, so you have to go further than just there, but that'll give you a lead to go there, and then you can go out. Okay. So by 1934, the General Education Board was making grants of 5.5 million a year. The General Education Board spent nearly all of its money by the year 1950 and closed the year 1964. So many of these was closed within a lot of you guys' time. It was before my time. It was closed to the things that already have been set. Here, you get the disc, you can run through Wikipedia, and then you can start doing some researches on some of the history. General Education Board was founded in February 1902 and chartered by the United States Congress on the 15th day of January 1903. The objective of the creators of the General Education Board being the promotion of education throughout the United States without distinction to race, sex, or creed. That's what they call separate but equal. Besides gifts from several philanthropists, the General Education Board received, when chartered, a special gift of $1 million from John D. Rockefeller for carrying on work in the southern United States. Upon evidence that this work will be effectively carried out, on the 30th day of June 1905, Rockefeller made an additional gift of $10 million, and in 1907, a further sum of $32 million. John D. Rockefeller eventually gave the General Education Board 180 million, which was used primarily to support higher education and medical schools in the United States and to improve farming practices in the South. It helped eradicate hookworm and created a country agent system and American agriculture, linking research to state agriculture experiment stations with actual practices in the field. By 1934, the General Education Board was making grants of 5.5 million a year. It spent nearly all its money by 1950 and ceased operating as a separate entity in 1960 when the General Education Board programs were subsumed into the Rockefeller Foundation. The General Education Board had four main programs. One, promotion of practical farming in the southern states through the Department of Agriculture. And the General Education Board had made appropriations amounting in 1912 and 1913 to 659.7 for the purpose of promoting agriculture by the establishment of demonstration farms under the direction of Dr. Seaman A. Knapp. You've seen that name before, haven't you? About 236 men were employed in supervising such farms. In 1906, the General Education Board contributed 405.7 thousand dollars we're talking about. In addition to promoting demonstration farms, instructors for educational farms were also furnished. The work of the General Education Board also influenced the practical teaching of agriculture in the schools of the southern United States. Two, establishment of public high schools in southern states. For this purpose of General Education Board appropriated for state universities or state departments of education in the South sums to pay for the salaries of high school representatives to travel throughout their states and stimulate public sentiment in favor of high schools. As a result of this work, 912 high schools had been established in 11 southern states by 1914. It's interesting about the southern states. Why are they just in the southern and not across the whole place? Just the South. And then agriculture. Texas A&M. Hmm. The promotion of institutions of higher learning. By 1914, the General Education Board had made conditional appropriations to the amount of 8 million, give towards an approximate total of 41 million. This money was expended throughout the United States. So they had basically set the groundwork in the South and then expanded it throughout the United States. Schools for Negroes. I don't know who the heck that is. Hmm. I wouldn't do that now just to see what Negroes are. That would be interesting, wouldn't it? Let's do that. Let me turn this Wi-Fi on. Yeah. Let's just trip for a second to see what they call Negroes. All right, let's see what comes up. Hmm. I guess it's thinking about it. Oh, what we get? For those who are looking at the screen that are, yeah, yeah, some other stuff we get into. Negroes. This article is about the historic term for outdated race concept. Negroid. For other uses, see Negro, ambiguous, not to be confused with nigger. What's this say? In the English language, the word nigger is an ethnic slur used against black people, especially African Americans, because it's considered extremely offensive, even if only mentioned and not used as a slur. It's often referred to the euphemism of the N word. It also can be used casually as fraternity. Negro is a term historically used to denote persons considered to be of black African heritage. The word Negro means the color black. In both Spanish and Portuguese, where English took it from, the term can be construed as an offense, inoffensive, or completely neutral, largely depending upon the region or country where it is used. It has very equivalents in other languages of Europe. United States, Liberia, Spanish, Italian, French, Haitian, Germanic, elsewhere. Look at this. They have, is this a land of Negroes or the niggers? I don't know. Distraction. We won't get into that. But there you have it. Schools for Negroes. By 1914, the General Education Board had made contributions amounting to 620,000 to schools for Negroes, mainly for the purpose of training of teachers. And the T-Jeans had contributed $1 million for that purpose. Who was that? We won't go into that. That's for you guys to take a look at. The work of General Education Board and social side as well, CORN, and educative clubs to study house management, poultry, preservation of fruit, and other subjects directly related to the agricultural life were encouraged in various ways, more especially in connection with the Girls Club. Girls and Boys Club? Other clubs of a purely social nature were organized for the promotion of more social life and forming communities. The investigation which preceded the gifts of the General Education Board were perhaps of great importance to the development of education in the United States as the gifts themselves. The administrators of the board consisted of 17 members and maintained headquarters in New York City. In 1920, the president of the General Education Board was W. Buttrick and Secretary A. Flexner. All right, philosophy. Founders of the General Education Board, John D. Rockefeller, John D. Rockefeller, and Frederick T. Gates, 1902. This is what they supposedly have said. In our dreams, we have limitless resources, and the people yield themselves with perfect docility to our molding hands. The present education conventions fade from their minds and unhampered by tradition. We work our own goodwill upon a grateful and responsive rural folk. We shall not try to make these people or any of their children into philosophers or men of learning or men of science. We have not to raise up from amongst them authors, editors, poets, or men of letters. We shall not search for embryo great artists, painters, musicians, nor lawyers, doctors, preachers, politicians, statements of whom we have an ample supply. The task we set before ourselves is very simple as well as very beautiful one. To train these people as we find them to a perfectly ideal life just where they are. So we will organize our children and teach them to do in a perfect way the things their fathers and mothers are doing in an imperfect way in the homes, in the shops, and on the farms. Wow. So a lot of you are saying, well, we have a lot of great lawyers and a lot of great politicians and statements. You know, we have a lot of those in our community. So what does this have to do with any doggone thing? That I'm just having you read some crap for nothing. You already know this. Well, here's the deal. The education that you've got from public schools, look at where it's gotten you. That's it. So if you didn't look up and get caught in, some boule type of thing, we all been basically taught to pay our bills, go to church, get married, die, pay taxes, you know, families first. And that's probably the best one out of everything I've said. Let me tell you, I have a bachelor's degree, you know, and every time I would go and go for a job or something like that, because I had so much diversity on my resume, they would say, "Oh, you've been doing all kinds of things. The things that you've done on this resume is more than some people have done in their entire life. So you're unstable. You haven't picked one thing and stayed there." Isn't that what they just said? Why did they say that at? They just said that. Uh, to train these people as we find them to a perfectly ideal life just where they are. So that means for you to stay in the condition that you're in. Some flies or jump out of the cuckoo's nest. Yeah, that's a movie. Y'all might want to go and check that out. I'm not promoting movies. I'm just saying the one who flew the cuckoo's nest. Check that out. Think about it's the mental condition of what's going on. We hear things like crab in a barrel. But now we're hearing the perfect ideal life just where they are. Then it says, so we'll organize our children and teach them to do a perfect way the things their fathers and mothers are doing in an imperfect way in the homes, in the shops, and on the farms. Imperfect. So they're saying at the time that they did this imperfect, they didn't have it quite, but we got the foundations, and we're going to teach and organize our children. And this is a twofold situation here. You're talking about their own children to teach them a perfect way and the things that they're doing at the current time that are imperfect. That means that they're going to perfect it. That means they're going to get it down. And they're going to learn this where? At home. And then they'll go out and do it out in an experiment where a lab or think tanks. And then they apply that to the farm. And the farm is the land. The farm are those that are on the land, the people, the beings, you. All right. So I'm going to keep this under a certain amount of time. This is intro 2. So a lot of you push back about the education. And it wasn't for us to get into. Now, listen, I don't want you guys to be stuck and be, you know, getting all deep into these people on here, whether it's this guy, this guy. You find out the information about them that you want to know so you can make sure the basis of this foundation that I'm laying for you guys that you understand so that you later understand what we're talking about. But I have to do this on the intro to give a foundation on to where we're getting ready to go on things. Okay, so with that being said, let's do this. We're gonna turn this doggone internet back off, and the reason I do that is because you don't want anything accessing your system knowingly, because there's an open um, configuration on all your devices that remain open even though you click the wireless off. And they call it what? The Internet of Things. We get into that another time too. So, even though you got your phones off, you know it's still on. Even though you got your desktop off, it's still on. Although your refrigerator is in the kitchen, it's a part of the Internet of Things network. But that's another thing. And speaking of networks, I'll be talking to you guys about that. All right. MorrisTraveler@gmail.com. You send an email, let me know if you're friend, family, or foe, and I can get you the address where you can send your payment for your thumb drive. And interesting enough, You can write this off as education. It's only at this day in October of 2022, it is $25, but it'll be $32 in 2023. 23 transpose is 32. Now, why am I doing that? Talk to you about that another time. All right, this is L with Silent Aggression Series, and we'll move on to the next intro.